Hey community, this is Dr. Hugh and this is podcast number 55 of True Health Recovery. And in today's episode, what I'm going to be going over is the secrets to getting rid of anxiety and depression and panic attacks. Now, if you've only been given a pharmaceutical drug for your problem, this is an archaic approach. There's so many things that you can do on a functional medicine basis to restore your function, restore your God-given physiology. So you have to get to the root cause of the problem. So what I'm going to go over today is groundbreaking research, and I've seen this clinically play out with my own clients, is that they restore their function, they decrease their inflammation, they normalize their sleep, and then they normalize their neurotransmitters, and they can start to get well. The research is clear. If you have any kind of inflammation whatsoever in your body, it's going to affect your brain, it's going to affect your neurotransmitters, and you are going to have anxiety, depression, panic attacks. So stay tuned. Down below is the link to my website if you want to see the full webinar with the pictures and all the graphics that I go over. If you're out there suffering, get a hold of me. There's no need to suffer, man. There's too many people suffering out there. My dad died at 69 years old on 14 medications every single day, and no one was out there trying to save his life and throw him a life preserver. That's what this podcast is all about. Subscribe to the podcast. Give me a comment below, and I appreciate you guys and love you guys. Take care. Bye-bye. Hey community, this is Dr. Hugh coming at you again with another webinar, and the reason why I've created this webinar is because there are too many people suffering with anxiety, depression, panic attacks, and the only solution they're getting in the conventional systems are drugs, antidepressant medication, anti-anxiety medication. And when you really dive into the research, there are lots and lots of things that can be done on a functional medicine basis. So what the heck does that mean? That means, how are we going to look at you, your physiology, and why are you having these symptoms? So if we can look at your physiology and figure out why are you having these neurological problems, anxiety, depression, panic attacks, however you would describe them. And if we can figure out if there's weak links in your physiology and support that, then the God-given healing ability for you to be happy and enjoy life will be there, and then you won't have to be reliant on these medications. The current medical system is, you have any kind of problems, you go to the doctor for 5 minutes and you're giving a pill for your problem. And the research clearly shows there are lots and lots of things that you can do to increase your God-given healing potential, your God-given healing physiology, so it functions optimally, so you don't suffer from these conditions. So what we're going to be covering here is fix the cause of the problem, and I'm going to be really going over a couple really key pieces of information, a couple key pieces of research, and I can tell you through my clinical experience, I've helped hundreds and hundreds of people recover from anxiety, depression, and mood disorders because we're actually literally looking at the root cause of the problem and figuring out what's happening with your physiology. So I'm going to be going over this study right in here, but I want to kind of give you pre-frame what we're going to be really talking about, because you're going to want to listen to the whole content here because it's going to be impactful on you if you're suffering from these conditions. If you're out there watching this, give me a thumbs up, subscribe, give me a comment below. Are you suffering from these kind of conditions? Are you looking for an alternative solution for your problem? Now, what you're looking at right here is you're looking at an MRI scan. Now, I'll be getting into the details of the scan, but this right here, you see these green, this is the MRI scan of the brain. So green is normal, and then people that have depression problems, anxiety, their brain is actually red. So this red indicates right here that your brain is actually inflamed. So they did some very interesting studies on people that have inflamed brains, have anxiety, and they can actually see your whole brain light up like a Christmas tree when you're depressed. Okay, so before we go on, I want to clear up two medical words that I'm going to be using in the research so you understand what's happening. And again, if you have understanding, then you can have control. So what I'm going to be going over is the research study that I just showed you, is they talk about microglia cells. Now, what the heck is that? That is basically just a fancy word for saying that it's the white blood cells that are in your brain. So smart people had to design and come up with a whole bunch of complex terms here and definitions. So your white blood cell, which is your immune system in your brain, is called your microglia cells. Now, your microglia cells, they look like this right here, and then when they're actually in active form, they kind of change forms. So the microglia, or the white blood cells of your brain, is the first and main form of activating your immune system against any kind of defense or any kind of bug. So microglia, just very simply, is your white blood cell count that's in your brain. Here's another good picture here, another good visual here that you can see. So you can see here, this is the brain, and then this is expanding it out so you can actually see what's happening here. So we're taking a little piece of the brain, and then you can see these are the different microglia that are in your brain, which again is your white blood cell. It's your immune system of your brain. So I really like this picture here. This is a picture of the inside of your brain, and you can see here, you see this yellow thing here, that's our actually neuron, and then you see this thing right here, this is the myelin sheath. Now, if you scan right here, this is the microglia cells, which is the white blood cell of your immune system. So it's protecting the neurons. So you can see how these microglia cells are all over in your entire body, or in your entire brain, I should say. And they're going around surveying your brain and seeing, is there anything that we need to attack because something is in your brain that should not be there. So they're very, very critical for going around and basically eating any bad guys. Okay, so the first term that we cleaned up, we cleared up, is microglia, which is basically your white blood cells in your brain. Then the next thing that we're going to be clearing up is this word right here, is LPS, which stands for lipopolysaccharides. So lipopolysaccharides, abbreviated LPS, or very simply, it's bacteria poop. So again, we come up with fancy names. It's bacteria poop. LPS is bacteria poop, which is bad. Now, this is a really good statement here from Dr. Perlmutter, who's a medical doctor, and he is a well-known author throughout the whole entire world. He's written many, many books on depression and gluten and how to save your brain. And he says, if there were ever a clear biological villain that flips on the inflammation pathways in your body, it would be basically LPS, or bacteria poop. So LPS is bacteria poop, which is another word for endotoxin. So again, LPS is just bacteria poop, and then microglia cells is the white blood cell in your brain. So one of the things is, when we talk about bacteria poop, what happens is, this is your gut. So you see here, this is your intestinal system. So the outside right here, so this would be food right here, and then the inside, which is your bloodstream, is only one cell thick. Now what happens is, if you have gut problems, if you have bloating, if you have constipation, if you have gas, if you have diarrhea, this is telling you that you have a leaky gut, and you can see these big holes right there in your digestive system. 80 to 90% of your immune system is in your small intestine, 36 feet long. Now what happens is, when you have this leaky gut, you see these bugs in here, they get into your bloodstream right in here, and then when they get in there, they start to poop. Because they get in your bloodstream, you have leaky gut, they start to poop, and that is called the LPS, the endotoxin, and that is what causes massive inflammation, causing your brain to be inflamed, causing anxiety, causing depression, causing panic attacks, all these things that you're suffering with, and a pill is not going to take care of it. You have to get to the root cause of the problem, and you can get well. This is the study that I'm going to go over right here. This is a revolutionary study, basically imaging robust microglia activation after LPS poop administered in humans with a PET scan. Okay, so what the heck does that mean? So this gets back to the study here that I was showing you. So check this out. What they did is, they actually had normal, healthy human beings right here, and they took this is actually a PET scan, not an MRI scan. So they know what this bacteria poop looks like, right? So they know what this bacteria poop looks like. So what they've done is, they did a PET scan of their brains, right? So this is the brain. Green is good. Green is not a lot of inflammation. So we want a lot of green. Then what they did to these subjects is, they injected them with bacterial poop, or LPS, or endotoxins, and look at their brain. Their brain became inflamed. It lit up like a Christmas tree. Now, what is lighting up here is, this right here is the microglia cells. So here it says, imaging robust microglia activation. Robust microglia activation after they've injected people with bacteria poop. And if you recall, the microglia is the immune system in your brain. So if you get a bacteria infection in your blood, what's going to happen to your white blood cell count? It goes up. If you have any kind of viral infection, if you get a bacterial infection, your white blood cell goes up. That causes systemic activation in your body. So what they found in these people is when they actually put LPS into their bloodstream, it lights up their microglia cells, which is the white blood cell count of their brain, causing inflammation, causing depression, causing anxiety, causing mood disorders. So if you want to link to this study, you can get the link, but I'm going to read this right here as their conclusion. It says LPS. Basically, this is bacterial poop, produces a marked increase in brain microglia cells activation. Also, in the periphery, which is basically everywhere in your body, peripheral inflammatory cytokines, which is a fancy name for inflammation, and self-reported sickness symptoms. So what is self-reported sickness symptoms? That's depression. That's mood disorders. That's anxiety. So they've injected these people with bacterial poop and they report that they get inflamed. They've done scans of their brain, PET scans. It's inflamed. And they report that they have anxiety and depression and all these neurological brain disorders from this bacterial poop. Now, here's another story, or here's another research article that says the gut-brain barrier in major depression, intestinal mucosal dysfunction with an increase, basically LPS. So if you have a bad gut, you're going to have depression. The LPS bacteria, leaky gut, plays a role in inflammation and pathophysiology of depression. So here's another study that shows that if you have this bacteria in your bloodstream, it's in your brain, and this causes depression and anxiety and mood disorders. So if you're out there and you're suffering from these kind of conditions and you've never had an evaluation to figure out how your gut is and figure out how all your other inflammatory markers are, you can be suffering needlessly, and there's actually a solution for you to get well. And the only thing out there in the medical system is here's a drug. That's a failing model. Human beings continue to suffer from that model. My dad died in the medical system at 69 years old on 14 medications every single day of his life. So this right here is also the summation right here of what they found. And it states this, is there is now evidence that major depression is accompanied by activation of the inflammatory response. Inflammatory response is your microglia cells being inflamed in your brain. And that pro-inflammatory, basically cytokines, which is just a fancy word for inflammation, and the bacterial poop may induce depression symptoms. So this is where you really got to take a different approach to anxiety, mood disorders, sleep problems, and really figure out how your body can function better so that your brain can function better. So if you're out there and you're suffering from these problems and you actually have diarrhea, constipation, bloating, you have to use some kind of like heartburn medication, this is a problem. This is telling you that your gut is inflamed, your gut's not well, and the bacteria gets in through your gut. So the bacteria get in through your gut, they get in your bloodstream, and then they start to poop, and then the poop goes to the brain and causes inflammation. So you may have GI symptoms. This is a huge red flag that you have a problem, and the bacteria poop is causing problems. So you may have reactions to food. You may have chronic symptoms like diarrhea, abdominal pain, bloating, or irritable bowel. Now, this is very, very important here. What the research shows is that 50% of the people that have a bad gut do not have any symptoms. So let me say that again. What the research shows is 50% of the people out there that have gut issues do not have GI problems. So they don't have constipation. They don't have bloating. They don't have diarrhea. They have no GI symptoms, but their gut is not healthy. So if they don't have gut problems, what do they have? Because it has to manifest somehow. So instead of they have no GI problems, they have autoimmune disease. They have chronic pain, fibromyalgia. This is an indication that your gut's not good. You have depression, anxiety, mood disorder, sleep problems. You have chronic fatigue. You have food sensitivities, as in maybe you eat something and then you have a flare, as in a flare like maybe a skin flare. Or maybe you eat something and you feel fatigue. Or maybe you eat something and you have vision problems. So something to do with your food. So 50% of the people that have a GI issues don't have any obvious gut problems. This is very, very significant. This is why you need a functional practitioner that knows what they're doing to evaluate what's actually happening and put you on a guided path to get well. When God designed us, he designed our brain, our blood-brain barrier, and our gut barrier to basically be the same thing. So the way I want you to think about this is you have these individual cells right here. You see one cell right there. So this is going to be like a brick. So one cell here is one brick. So this would be your food. So between the outside and the inside is one cell thick. So your gut barrier is one cell thick. Your brain barrier between your blood and your brain is one cell thick. And then between the bricks is mortar or cement, right? So this is the same thing that happens in your gut and in your brain. So here, I showed this. This is the research here. You see this right here. This is the cement right here. This right here is the cement. So the cement, it has the exact same structure that's in your gut, that's in your brain. So if you have a bad gut, guess what? You automatically have a bad brain. If you have a bad brain, your brain doesn't say, ow, it doesn't have pain receptors. You get anxiety, you get depression, you get mood disorders, you get sleep problems, you get fibromyalgia, you get dysautonomia, weird neurological problems, but yet in the conventional system, no one's doing a thorough workup to figure out what is actually going on. How can we reverse your condition? How can you allow the power that made the body heal your body? You just need a guided plan. You know, my dad died in the medical system. When I was 14 years old, I was 80 pounds overweight. They used to call me Huge in high school. That was my nickname. My first name is Hugh, so they used to call me Huge. So if you're out there suffering, I want to let you know I understand about suffering. I understand what it is to have a problem, to see family members die, and you don't need to suffer. Especially with these neurological anxiety, depression, all these things that's happening right now in our society. So when we look at this, what are some possible causes of not only leaky gut, but this would also lead to anxiety, depression, mood disorders, panic attacks as well. This is where you have to go and you have to do a strategic plan. It's like football. Like there's these professional athletes, they have a game plan. They know how and what plays that they're going to move forward with because it's strategic. They know the science. They know how to play. That's the same thing when we look at your case. So what's your diet like? Are you sensitive to foods? Are you sensitive to gluten? Again, 50% of the people can be eating gluten but have no GI problems, but yet that causes a blood-brain barrier. So you got to look at your diet. You have to look at medications. Have you taken antibiotics? Have you taken fluoroquinolones? Have you taken Cipro? Have you taken Levaquin? All these things will damage your gut. When they damage your gut, they damage your blood-brain barrier. If your gut's damaged, that allows the bacteria in, and the bacteria starts to poop and causes leaky gut. So you want to look at that. Do you have infections? Do you have H. pylori? I check everybody for H. pylori, stool sample, very simple. The test costs $50. $50 to know if you have H. pylori, and guess what? A lot of people do. Yeast overgrowth, fungus, parasites. Are you stressed out, right? What can we do to increase your resilience, decrease your stress, increase your sleeping capacity? If you do all these things, guess what? Your brain's going to get better. Thyroid hormone. Do you have a thyroid hormone? Are you subclinical thyroid? Meaning that your body's inflamed, your brain's inflamed, your thyroid's not working well. So it's not that you need thyroid medications. Maybe it's a matter of fixing your physiology, fixing the God-giving physiology so things function right. Are you low on progesterone, testosterone, estrogen? Have you had any kind of, some kind of concussions? Even if you're 60, even when you were 6 years old, if you had a concussion, that concussion can start to come out. That's what the research is showing, is that accumulative trauma over a period of time in your brain can cause problems. That's why these professional football players, why there's so much emphasis on concussions, because they know each concussion builds on one another. These people have been playing football since they've been 5 years old, and concussions can add up. So let's say you had a slight concussion. You just blew it off. Maybe then 15 years later, you got in a motor vehicle accident and your head hit the back of the seat really hard and you had a mild concussion. Not that you got knocked out, but your brain had trauma. All these things will be a factor causing leaky brain. When your brain is leaky, guess what? That inflammation goes in there, and then like the PET scan shows the red brain is lit up, and then you get anxiety, mood disorders, depression, all these things that really, when you look back at it, what can we do functionally to support your body to heal and function. Also, too, over here, metabolic problems. Do you have high glucose? Do you have high insulin levels? Do you have low vitamin D? So there is lots and lots of possibilities for you to get well. So with that being said, I hope you found value in this. If you're out there struggling to get better, contact me. Where there's help, there's hope. God put the most amazing healing power in your body. You can get well. You just have to figure out what's hindering your body's ability to heal and function, and then you can get well. So with that, take care. Bye-bye.